Shalom, brothers and sisters. Once again, I am your host, Shabar Judah ben Israel, on the behalf of Solid Foundation Israelite Academy. That's S.F.I.A, Solid Foundation Israelite Academy. You can also check out Solid Foundation International Ministries. That's Solid Foundation International Ministries. S.F.I.A. Okay? Pretty much the same organization, but we have different names. Okay, we have S.F.I.M for like more international ministry, and S.F.I.A for more like domestic teaching and edification, such as the Israelite Academy, the school. But we want to give double honors to the elders, the apostles that have labored and paved the way for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are descendants of the ancient biblical Israelites according to heritage and bloodline. Also, we give salutations to the brothers, the Akim, that's preaching the truth in sincerity, that's out and about the highways, byways, and the hedges in season and out of season, week in and week out, prophesying the downfall of America. And last but not least, we want to give all praises, glorification, and adulation and great honor is due to Yahweh by Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, who the world knows as, better yet, God or Jesus Christ. Alright, so we're going to get into the lesson now. What is the lesson concerning today? The lesson, the topic on today will be, we're going to be talking about first fruits. That's first fruits. Alright, first fruits, brothers and sisters, okay? First fruits, as you can see, I am just showing you different images. First fruits, the feast of first fruits, is actually today, brothers and sisters. It's actually today. It came in effect last night. First fruits came in effect last night. Okay. So you could say we're going to show you how we get first fruits, the feast of first fruits, and we're going to show you how we know what appointed time that it fall upon. Okay, so let me show you how the feast of first fruits, basically, let me show you how we get the appointed time, which is today, which is actually May 7th. Okay, May 7th. Sun up to sundown, okay? And first fruits is also known as Pentecost. So once again, first fruits is today, May 7th, okay, to sundown, all right? And this is a high day, all right? So let me show you how do we get that. This is moonconnection.com, and we're going to go back to, let's say, January, and we're going to lead all the way up to show you how we get the appointed time concerning first fruits and the Holy Bible. So this is January 2017. January 2017, the moon calendar. We know the days, basically, the moon, basically, you know, is another name for month. The month, or you say a new moon is a new month. So a month is in reference to the moon. Okay, so this was January 2017. You had new moon to fall upon January 28th. So Friday night, 27th of January, Friday night made new moon for January. So Friday night to 27th of January actually made February. Okay, which was January 28th. So this is February, because that's a new moon creates a new month. So January 28th, 2017 is February. We're gonna move all the way down. Let's go to the next month. So since it made February, you can see right here. Okay, as you can see, February 26th made a new month. February, Saturday night, February 25th, actually made the new month for February 2017, 26. So this created the first month of the year, which is March. March is the first month of the year, pursuing the Bible, which is known as the month of Abib. So February 26 was actually made March the 1st, which is a new month. Okay, and from March, which is technically February 26th, was made March. We're going to show you how we get first fruits. This is the first month of the year. February 26th actually was made March. You will start counting from the first month of the year. You'll start counting from March the 1st on out, because it's going to lead up to Passover. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and it is dealing with feast days. Some may call them holy days. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is the chapter that deals with the feast days, the holy days that was given to the children of Israel. We don't celebrate holidays, but however, we do celebrate holy days. So this is the chapter for your holy days. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Now, we're going to show you on the behalf of first fruits being today, we're going to show you how we get that. Okay, so when you go down, let's start with Leviticus 23:2, speaking to the children of Israel and saying to them concerning the feast of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. So he's going to give you a list of feasts that we proclaim to be holy convocations. Basically, convocation is a gathering. Holy convocations is holy gatherings. So he gives the nation of Israel feast days pursuant to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. We're not going to go over all the feast days, but however, we're going to show you how we get the appointed time for what they would call first fruits, okay? So, let's look at Leviticus 23:5. Leviticus 23:5, it says, "And the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover." Okay, so the 14th day of the first month at even. 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. So the 14th day of the first month, brothers and sisters, dealing with the moon calendar, the lunar calendar, you can see that February 2017, February 26th, made the first month of the year, which is March. So you're going to count from the first month of the year, which is March, technically, which is February 26th. You're going to count on down to the 14th day, starting with February 26th being March the 1st. You're going to start from here and count all the way until you get to 14th day, pursuing Leviticus 23:5, till you get to the 14th day of the first month. So we're going to count from here, which is the new moon, which is the new month. We're going to count with March the 1st, okay? March the 1st, 1, 2, 3. All right, then we go over to March 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this right here, which is technically March 2017, March 11 is actually March 14, counting from the new moon, which was what? Which was February 26, okay? Counting from the new moon, which is a new month. You will start from February 26, which is March the 1st, and you will count from the 1st, 2nd to the 3rd. Skip over to March, 1st, 2nd to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So technically, March 2017, 11. March the 11th was Passover at evening. So March the 11th, so to say. In other words, March the 11th, on March the 11th, when 6 o'clock came, that was evening. So on the 14th day of the first month at evening, okay, being March the 11th at evening, 6 o'clock, it made the Passover, okay, which was the 12th, because at 6 o'clock, that's evening, okay, so it actually made the 12th, which is the Passover, okay, and as you can see, the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. So this 14th, which is technically March 2017, March 11, was made March the 14th, counting from the new moon, At evening at 6 o'clock on March the 11th, it brought in the Passover. Okay, it brought in the Passover, which is technically March the 12th, because at 6 o'clock is basically another day. Okay, so it brought in March the 12th, which is the Passover. Now from March the 12th, we're gonna show you something. It says, see, Leviticus 23 and 6. It says, and on the 15th day, of the same month is the feast of the unleavened bread. So this is the 15th day technically. March 12, 2017 made technically March 15th, which is the feast of the unleavened bread. So that's why you get Passover. Some may call Passover the feast of unleavened bread as well. Okay, and then it says, and to the Lord, Leviticus 23 and 6, and to the Lord 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. So you have to eat unleavened bread for 7 days, because you have to purge yourselves. You have to get the leaven out of your soul. So this is basically you dedicating your temple to the Most High by not eating leavened bread. Leaven represents sin. Okay, so to become unleavened is to be found without sin. So you are to do this 7 days. That's when the feast of unleavened bread comes in. When that comes in, basically right after the Passover, which was March 2017, March 12. This is the feast of unleavened bread lasts for 7 days. As you can see, it says, feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. So you count from 12, which is feast of unleavened bread. You count 7 days. So this is March the 12th, 2017 actually made March the 15th, which is the feast of unleavened bread. So you have 1, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Feast of unleavened bread lasts 7 days, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you close out the feast of unleavened bread. Technically, we closed out the feast of unleavened bread on March 2017. Technically, March the 18th, we closed out the feast of unleavened bread. Okay, which made the 18th technically March 2017, 18. So feast of unleavened bread was actually right here. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we closed it out right here. Okay. As you can see, 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Leviticus 23 and 7. The first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Okay. And ye shall do no servile work. So that first day, which opened up the feast of unleavened bread, you can't work on that day, which technically was the 15th, pursuant to the new moon, but the moderate calendar will be March 2017, 12. But we know actually March the 12th was 15th according to the new moon. So you can't do no servile work on that day because it's a high day. And you count 7 days, which would take you down to 18. All right. And then we go on. I'm just going to go down a little bit, show you how we get what they call first fruits. Because today is first fruits. Let's go down a little bit. Okay. Leviticus 23 and 8. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord Yahweh 7 days. Okay, and the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work. So to close this out, the feast of unleavened bread lasts for 7 days. On the 7th day, when you're closing it out, you can't do no servile work as well. And it said within these 7 days, it said that we had to do what? It said that we are to offer up an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. Well, you know, we don't do that. We don't do the offerings anymore because the Levitical priesthood order has been extracted now since the death of Yahushua, the Messiah. So we don't no longer do any type of offerings dealing with priesthood, but we replace those offerings made by fire. We replace those with cooking, okay, moderate cooking. So what we doing throughout the 7 days, from the 12th all the way to the 18th, is we cooking and we celebrating, man, for 7 days. But we're not eating. Just remember, for 7 days, we're not eating anything we're not eating any living bread within those 7 days. We're not eating anything containing yeast. So within that last day, when you close out the feast of unleavened bread, it says this basically is When we close it out, we can do no servile work therein. And then it goes on to say that, in the seventh day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So that seventh day, we close it out. We can't do no servile work. All right. And Leviticus 23:10, speaking to the children of Israel and saying to them, when you come into the land, because the Most High was going to give the land of Canaan, the Holy Land, the moderate day land, Palestine, Israel. That's our land, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the land of Israel. Leviticus 23:10, the Most High said that basically he was going to bring us into that land because he promised us that land. It says, speaking to the children of Israel, I say unto them, when ye be coming to the land, see, when we get into that land, the promised land, the Holy Land, the land of Canaan, Palestine, Israel, Jerusalem, when we come into that land, which he give us, it shall reap the harvest, basically, our fruits, produce thereof. Then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest into the priest. See, so you had to basically, this is talking about first fruits on the behalf of today. And we're going to show you how do we get first fruits, how we know the appointed day is first fruits, using calculations and biblical timelines. So it says, ye shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest into the priest. So first fruits, what is first fruits? First fruits basically means your best, okay, your best portion, so to say. That's first fruits is
Strong's H 7225. Reshith, second entry. Reshith.
So it's Reshith, and that's first fruits, and it says first. See, the first. What we're looking at is the best, the chief, okay, top notch, top quality, grade A. You know what I'm saying? The first, the chief. So the Most High is bringing us into the promised land. You know, he had promised us that land through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he tells us that when we do get into that land, the Holy Land, that we are to whatever our produce when we grow in our vegetation. Okay, whether it may be wheat, barley, pomegranates, you know, whether it may be spices, oils, you know, grapes, whatever we have, whatever we grow in that land, it says that the best portion of that, before we can partake in that, the best portion, we had to bring a 10% of that to the priest, which is the first fruits. Okay, right here, which is the first fruits. That's why first fruits is always dealing with vegetation, produce. As you can see, that's what it's talking about. As you can see, first fruits is always dealing with that. It's dealing with vegetables. It's dealing with fruits, oils, spices, because the 10% of your tithing, the 10% of your tithing was actually fruits. It was not money. It was like produce, vegetables, spices, oils, different things in that nature. So when we come into that Holy Land, since the Most High promised to give us that land, didn't break his promise, when we get into that land, we ought to be grateful and show the Most High that he deserves a 10% of our best of our harvest. But we had to give that to the priests, because the priests was the governors on earth. They was like the governors of Israel. They was like gods on earth. They was like the Most High on earth. So the 10% of our first fruits right here, it went to the Levites, the Levitical priests. Okay. It also went to the widows. It went to the fatherless, strangers, and things too like that. People like that. Leviticus 23:11, and ye shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow. After the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Okay. Leviticus 23:12, and ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord. Now you know we don't no longer do burnt offerings because the Levitical priesthood has been done away with. Yahweh shall be high priest, but I'm going to show you basically how we get the appointed time for first fruits today. Leviticus 23:13, and the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor, and the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the first part of him. Now we're going to get straight into it. Leviticus 23:14, and ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, because whatever you grew in the Holy Land, whatever you grew, because we had farms back then, we had different camps that grew vegetation. We had our farms back then. We was when we cultivated agriculture, and we was growing crops and things of that nature, vegetables and stuff. We had our own farms. But whatever you grew, you couldn't eat it. Whatever you grew, whatever you produced, you could not eat of it until the Most High received the 10% of your produce, which is 10% of your first fruits. So the meat offering, okay, well, we don't read that. Leviticus 23:14, and ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the self same day that you have brought an offering of unto your God. So no matter what we grew in that holy land, no matter what we grew with our produce, where we produced it, no matter what we, whether it was, like I said, whether it was wheat, barley, whether it was grapes, wine, figs, pomegranates, olives, dates, whatever your produce that you grew, you produced, you could not partake in that until you took out a 10% of your best and gave to the high priest. Okay, that's what it's talking about. And to the self same day that you have brought an offering unto your God, and it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. And brothers and sisters, that was basically that dealing that you could not eat of your produce until the Most High received your best portion, which was the first fruits. Okay, and Leviticus 23rd chapter 15 verse, and ye shall count. Now this is how we get the appointed time. This is how we get the appointed time of first fruits 2017 this year, which is actually May the 7th today. May the 7th is first fruits. Now when sundown comes, first fruits will basically be over with. All right. So just keep in mind, we're trying to illustrate and show you how we get the appointed time for first fruits. How we get this appointed time for first fruits. Okay, a lot of brothers and sisters may not know, like, how did you get the appropriate time for first fruits? The timeline. We're going to show you. Leviticus 23:15, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. See, you shall count. You shall count. You shall count. So it's all about counting. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. You shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. You shall count 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. 7 Sabbaths. So in other words, Leviticus 23:16, even until the morrow, after the 7th Sabbath, shall ye number 50 days. Okay? And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. So it's all about, Leviticus 23:15 is all about counting. Ye shall count. And it's all about counting after that Sabbath. Okay? What it means, after that last day of what they would call the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because the Feast of Unleavened Bread is carried out for 7 days, which Feast of Unleavened Bread is here. So you would count. So what we did March 2017, we counted from 12th, which is technically the 15th, because March the 11th was Passover, and then at Passover and at 6 p.m. See, at 6 p.m. March the 11th, basically at 6 p.m. made Passover, which was technically March 12th, which is actually March 15th, according to the new moon. and from the 15th, brothers and sisters, that's the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. And it lasts for 7 days. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, on that closing of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that was considered a Sabbath, man. That was considered a Sabbath, a high Sabbath. On the closing of that Feast of Unleavened Bread. And right here it says that after that Sabbath, see, basically after the 18th, after that closing of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, after that Sabbath, from the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, it says you shall what? Count 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. So 7 Sabbaths. Now what's 7 times 7? 7 times 7 is technically 49, okay? And the day after it is 50. So even until the morrow, after that Sabbath, after that 7th Sabbath, after you don't count it 49 days, ye shall number 50 days, see? And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. So that's how we get Pentecost, okay? So that's basically how we come up with Pentecost. Because we was reading in Leviticus, as you can see right here, Leviticus 23 and 16, it says, even until the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, ye shall number 50 days. So when you look at in the Hebrew, 50,
Strong's H 2572, Chamoshim,
it says Kamoshim. All right. Some people may say Kamash Yam. Now, what does that mean? So, as you can see right here, Yam is just plural, like with an S. It's not singular. So, when you see Yam, it's just plural. But if you want to say Kamash, that is 50. Okay? 50. And we'll show you. That's Hebrew 2572. All right. When you go into it, once again, you're going to have a pronunciation.
Strong's H 2572, Chamoshim,
Kamoshim, and it says what? It says 50. Okay, 50, cardinal number. Multiple of 50 with other numbers. 50th, the 50th, the ordinal number, the 50th. So, Kamoshim, okay? Kamoshim, it just means the 50, man. 50. Okay, so if you want to say Yawam, that means day. Yawam means day. So Kamash Yawam, which is the 50th day. Okay, Kamash Yawam, which is the 50th day. All right, brothers and sisters. So pursuant to Leviticus 23 and 15. We read that. Now let's look at Leviticus 23 and 16, because this is the focus right here. It says 50 days. So 50 means Kamash Yawam, 50 days. That just means Pentecost, Pentecost. Okay. So when you look at the word Pentecost, that just means 50, man. All right. That's all it's talking about. It just means 50. All right. Because we're gonna show you something, brothers and sisters, dealing with Acts 2. We're just trying to show you how we leading up the first fruits. Acts 2 and 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. Now, let's look at Pentecost in the Greek. Pentecost.
Strong's G 4005, Pentecoste,
Pentecoste, which is 4005 in the Greek concordance. Now, when we scroll down, let's take a look at it. It says Pentecost. It says what? The 50th day. Okay, it says the 50th day. So Pentecost, Pentecostal, Pentecost, that's not a religion. That's not a denomination. Okay, basically what I'm saying is the so-called white man, which is the devil, because all these images that you see before you, these are not the true biblical images of the characters of the Bible. All right, the The ancient biblical Jews were black people and still is black people today. The so-called Negroes, we are the real Jews. So what you're looking at is a bunch of Edomites, because the so-called white man, his nationality, according to the Bible, is Edom. Okay, the children of the wickedness, the children of Satan. All right, the ones that God hates, the Edomites, the descendants of Esau, the descendants of Edom. They are the wicked. So the so-called white man have brainwashed our people by whitewashing our images and putting himself up in the place of them. This is not the original Jews according to the Bible. There was not white people. The ancient biblical black Jews are and still is black people from the tribe of Judah, so-called Negroes today. So just disregard these false images. But Pentecost, the so-called white man, which is the devil, they took this term and made an entire religion out of it. They took Pentecost and they made a religion out of it. Pentecost just simply means a number, which is just 50. Okay, Pentecoste in the Greek, Pentecost means 50. Okay, as you can see. And what the so-called white man did was he took the term Pentecost and made an entire religion out of it, man. Okay, and want you to think when you see Pentecost, this is in reference of speaking in tongues. Okay, Pentecost doesn't have nothing to do with speaking in tongues. Okay, even though we knew that took place in Acts the 2nd chapter, Pentecost, however, it just simply means 50. It's in no connections to speaking in tongues. It's in no connections to what they do today in the Christian church. No, Pentecost simply means 50, the 50th day. Why? Because we already showed you the history on the behalf of the first fruits. We already showed you the history. We're going to show you how we get first fruits. So, brothers and sisters, it says in Acts 2:1, when the day of Pentecost was fully come, meaning that a total of 50 days was come. That's what it means. Pentecost was fully come. The total of 50 days, they were all with one accord in one place. Now, why would it say Pentecost is in reference to 50? Okay, let's give you that ancient history. Let's go back what we was talking before in Leviticus the 23rd chapter. And like I said, Leviticus 23, it says in 16, even until the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. 7 Sabbaths, okay? 7 Sabbaths. It's 7 days within a week. So 7 Sabbaths is 49 days plus the day that you was to offer the new meat offering up, making 50 days. So ye number 50 days. Kamash Yawam in Hebrew, 50th day. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. So this is where you get Pentecost from, basically, which means 50 days. Okay? That's why I said in Acts 2:1, when the day of Pentecost will fully come. Why? Because what you're going to do, brothers and sisters, what you're going to do is simply, once the 7 days of Passover is passed, okay, once the 7 days Passover, or some may call Passover the Feast of Unleavened Bread, as you can see right here, brothers and sisters, okay, the Passover is also known sometimes as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Some call it the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and some may call it the Passover, but they are the same, okay? And it's 7 days that this take place. And like I told you, okay, Passover for this year, March 2017, the Passover was at March the 11th at 6 p.m. was the Passover. So 6 p.m. basically creates a new day. So technically the Passover was March 11/12th. You know, after 6 p.m. it was made March the 12th, which is the 15th, according to the moon calendar. And from the 15th day, which is technically was March the 12th, 2017, you're going to count 7 days. Okay, but on that last day, you're going to close it out. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, you're going to close it out. So when we look at Leviticus 23:16, it says, after that Sabbath, ye shall number 50 days. Okay, so what's going on? I'm going to explain to you. Okay, so we know that the Feast of Unleavened Bread right here, it lasts for 7 days where you don't eat any leavened bread. And it closes out. Basically, it already closed out. We already done this. It closed out on the 18th. So from the 7 days of the Passover, or Feast of Unleavened Bread, it has passed. from the 12th to the 18th, this is the last day you close it out. Once that has passed, that's when you begin to count. That's when you begin to count of the feast of the first fruits. That's when you begin to count the feast of the first fruits. As you've seen, Leviticus 23 and 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after that Sabbath, and from that day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you shall count after that day. You shall count 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. So when we close the Feast of Unleavened Bread out, which was technically March 2017-18, we started counting 50 days, okay, from after the 18th, we started counting 50 days. So we're going to count 50 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a new moon right here, which made 10, which made April, a new moon, 10, 11, 12, 13, okay, watch this, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, okay. Now as you can see right here, we on 43, okay. We on 43, and as you can see right here, April 2017, 26 made a new month, so that made May. Then the new moon made May right here. That made May. So remember, we on 43, the 43rd day, and now we're gonna go to May, which is this month. Okay, we was on 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Okay, 49. Saturday night, 49. Saturday night after the sundown creates a new day. 49. Okay, and 50, which is today, Sunday, May 2017, May 7th, which is Sunday, and this is first fruits because this is the 50th day. So as you can see, what we did was we counted 7 Sabbaths after what? We counted 7 Sabbaths after that closing day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and that got us to 50 days, 7 Sabbaths, 7 times 7, 49, plus that day that the offering was carried out on, that got us 50 days total. And that's how we know technically that May 2017, May 7th is what they would call first fruits. Okay? A lot of brothers and sisters, Hebrew brothers and sisters, may not know that today is actually the first fruits. We're not going to give you so much of an explanation. We're not going to go into details concerning this lesson. We're not going to explain what first fruits all about. I just wanted to point out how did we get the appointed day, which is today, May 7, 2017, being first fruits. How did we get that? We showed you already concerning this video. How did we get that appointed feast day, first fruits? We showed you, okay? You have to what? You always have to remember on that closing of the Feast of Unleavened Bread on that Sabbath day, you got to count. You got to count how many 7 Sabbaths plus that day. That'll make 50. See, so they say even into the tomorrow. So you have to count 7 Sabbaths after that 7 days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. After it has passed, you have to begin your count of that feast of first fruits. You have to begin your count from that last day of the closing of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You have to begin your count. 50 days, you have to start counting. So just remember, man, because Leviticus 23 and 16, 50 days, and that's basically 50 means in the Hebrew kamash. That's 50 days. Kamash Yawam, 50 days. And we showed you in the Greek what Pentecost means. In the Greek 4005, Pentecost comes from Pentecost Day, which means 50. So there you have it, man. Just kind of simple mathematics when you do when you add it up, you know what I'm saying? So 50 days, man. Basically, the first of your crops, was gathered. They was gathered and offered to the Most High according to the ritual of Pentecost. And that's why everybody met up in Acts, the 2nd chapter. That's why everybody met up. You had devout. I'll show you this. Wait a minute. I'll show you. Acts chapter 2. Now you know all these men were Israelites, okay? Because when the day of Pentecost was fully come, after the 50 days, they were all with one accord in one place. You know what I'm saying? That was basically where you had to meet up at Jerusalem, because you had to meet up at Jerusalem 3 times out of the year to bring your first fruits. To bring your first fruits, to bring your best portion to the Levites, who was like the most high on the earth, who was the governors. So basically, Acts chapter 2 deals with Pentecost. We're not gonna get into that. We'll get into that on another lesson. But I just want to show you that Acts chapter 2 and 5, it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation. So why we have all these devoted Jews out of every nation coming to Jerusalem? You understand? It's because we're going to show you the history. Why did they come to Jerusalem? Because they was keeping the law, man, according to the old covenant. We're going to show you that history. You know what I'm saying? And these are devout Jews from out of every nation. These are different regions from where they came. Parthians, Medes. See them Parthians and Medes? Them basically like Persians, Elamites, East Indians, dwellers of Mesopotamia. You know what I'm saying? That's Babylon. You know what I'm saying? So these are locations. Parthians, that's Parthians and Medes. That's Persia. That's India. This is Babylon. This is Israel. This is Greece. You know, this Greece. This is Asia Minor. You know what I'm saying? And right here, that's Africa, Egypt, Africa, parts of Libya, Africa, Cyrene, Africa, strangers of Rome, Italy, Jews and proselytes. Those Jews that basically return back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Greeks and Arabians, those come from Arabia. You know, so it was Jews all over that came from different regions of the earth, because the reason why they was living in different regions of the earth is because of captivity, because Israel went in several captivities. All right, so this is James 1:1. Israel went in captivity, several captivities. That's why you had dispersed Jews all over the nations. James 1:1. James, the servant of the Most High of Yahushua, Hamashiach. It says to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Now, how do we get scattered abroad? This is Deuteronomy chapter 4 and 32, I believe. Let's see. Salak, Deuteronomy 4 and 27. And the Most High Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations. So this was basically prophetic message through Moses, saying that the children of Israel for disobedience would be scattered among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen. So we were scattered out among the heathen. North, Central, South America, Caribbean islands, Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere. We all over the place. You got Jews, Israelites all over the place. Why? Because we were scattered among the nations, man. How we were scattered among slavery. We when other nations, other heathen nations conquered us and took us as slaves, you know, we were scattered among the heathen, man. Whether the Lord Yahweh shall lead you, because it was his doing we were scattered among the heathen for disobedience. So that's why you have in Acts 2 devout man that came out of every nation under heaven, dealing with Acts 2 and 5. These Jews were devoted man, but they came from out of every nation under heaven because you had Jews that was dispersed, man, okay, through captivity, several captivities. So they was living in all different regions. Like they was living in, like, you know, right here, that's Persia. You had Jews in Persia. You had Jews in India. You had Jews in Babylon. You had Jews in Israel. You had Jews in Greece. You had Jews in Greece, Asia Minor. You had Jews in Africa, Egypt, Africa, Libya, Cyrene, Africa, Italy, Jews and proselytes. You had Jews in Arabia. It was Jews living all over the place, man. Okay, because of that dispersion, that captivity, them several captivities that Israel went in, we were scattered out. So why were all these people on the day of Acts chapter 2, on that day of Pentecost, that 50th day, why would all these Jews be meeting up in Jerusalem, man? Because those devout men, those Jews, they were Israelites, and I give you the history on why they was meeting up in Jerusalem. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 26. Like I say, we're not going to go into more. We're not going to analyze what is first fruits, not in this lesson about, but we just showing you how we get the appointed feast day first fruits, and we just kind of showing you the history behind it. Deuteronomy 26:1, and it shall be when thou art come into the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power giveth to thee for an inheritance, and possessed it and dwelleth therein. So that's talking about what land? The land of Israel, the land of Canaan, which the Lord Yahweh giveth thee for inheritance, because he promised our fathers, and he promised us that land. Dealing with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he told them that their seed was going to possess the land. Deuteronomy 26:2, thou shalt take of the first of all thy fruit of the earth, meaning the first fruit, the best portion. Thou shalt take the first of the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of your land unto the Lord Yahweh your power, and give it thee, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go into the place which the Lord thy God chose to place his name there. Now, what is this place that he chose to place his name? 2 Chronicles 6:6. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there. And I have chosen David to be over my people Israel. So the Most High's people are you Israelites, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And he said that he chose Jerusalem that his name might be there. So that's the place, okay? Jerusalem, pursuing the 2 Chronicles 6:6. That's what it's talking about in Deuteronomy 26:2. We got to take our first fruits. We got to take our best portions of our produce, our crops. Once we get into that land, we can't eat nothing of it. We can't get first dips. We can't get first dips of the fruit. We can't get first dips of the grain, the barley, the wheat, whatever we may grow in that land, dealing with first fruits. We can't get the best parts of it. We can't get first dips. The Most High gets first dips. And the first dips is known as first fruits, which is the 10% that went to the Levites. So thou shalt take the first of all thy fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring into the land, that talking about Jerusalem, that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go into the place which the Lord God shall choose to place his name. Well, we showed you that Jerusalem, pursuing the 2 Chronicles 6:6, Deuteronomy 26:3, and thou shalt go into the priest. See, go into the priest, because you had to give your 10% to the priest. And your 10% was not money. It was not finance, like they tell you today in these churches. These lying-ass Christian churches want to tell you that your tithes is in reference to money. Your tithes is not in reference to finance. Your tithes was always dealing with produce, dealing with crops, vegetation, oils, spices. That's what your tithes is dealing with. Your first fruits, your best of your produce, not money, man. And you shall give that to the priest. Okay, thou shalt go into the priest, that thou shalt be in those days, and shalt say unto him, I profess to this day unto the Lord thy God, that I come into the country where the Lord Yahweh swore unto our fathers to give us. Yeah, because the Lord Yahweh, he swore unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to give their seed, which is the nation of Israel, that land. And even though we're not in that land, it's still promised to us. We just was rooted out the land for disobedience, but that land is still promised to us, and we're going to get that land. If we return back to his laws, statutes, and commandments, and keep these laws, he's going to give us our land, okay? We just been out the land. We've been exiled from the land for disobedience, but he's gonna give us our land, and he promised that land to our fathers. Okay, and Genesis 15:18, just showing you history, how he promised that land to our fathers. Genesis 15:18. And the same day that the Lord Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, that's Abraham to be, he made a covenant, agreement with Abram, saying, unto thy seed, thy seed have I given this land. Thy seed, the descendants of Abraham have I given this land, from the river of Egypt into the great river of the Euphrates. And this is another one showing you that he promised us the land through our forefathers first. This is 26:13. Genesis 26:13, because he promised Isaac, Abraham's son, the same deal. And then Genesis 26:3. I believe I said 13, it's a lot, but it's 3. So Genesis 26:3. It says, sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and I will bless thee, for unto thee and unto thy seed will I give all these countries. See? And I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham your father. So he told Isaac that as well. And so it went from Abraham, he made the covenant with Abraham, he promised Isaac that, made the covenant with Isaac, Abraham's son, down to Jacob. Okay, and we're going to show you that. Genesis 28:13, down to Jacob, Jacob was the son of Isaac. The youngest son of Isaac, Jacob. Genesis 28:13, and behold, the Lord Yahweh stood above it and said, I am the Lord Yahweh. Power of Abraham, which is our forefather, Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac, which was Abraham's son. It says, the land whereof thou liest to thee will I give it into thy seed, because he's talking on the behalf of Jacob here. So he's telling Jacob that basically I made a promise beginning with Abraham, your father, your forefather, down to Isaac, and I would give it to thy seed, down to you, Jacob. So he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the descendants of Jacob is the Israelites, which are you blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. He promised you that land, So as of being grateful and recognition, and as a token of love, when we went into the land, we had to give a best portion of our first fruits to the Most High on the behalf of him giving us that land. That's how we showed the Most High we was grateful for him giving us that land. Anything that we grew in that land dealing with produce, anything we grew, whether it was wheat, barley, grapes, wine, figs, pomegranate, olive oil, dates, spices, whatever we grew in that land, as being grateful for the Most High giving us that land, we took our first fruits, our best, before we got anything. He got first gifts, this first fruits. You can see, pursuant to Deuteronomy 26 and 3. It says, see, which the Lord swore unto our fathers to give us that land, Jerusalem, Deuteronomy 26:4. And the priest shall take the basket out of thy hand, the Levites, the sons of Aaron, and set it down before the altar of the Lord Yahweh thy power, Deuteronomy 26:5. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord Yahweh thy power, a Syrian ready to perish, because they related Hebrews to the region they stayed in. They was called Syrians as well. The Hebrews was called Syrians because they stayed around that region of Syria. So it says, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. He went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation in great, mighty, and populous. Deuteronomy 26:6. Because Deuteronomy 26 chapter is the history on the offering of the first fruits. Basically, Deuteronomy 26 chapter is explaining first fruits. It's giving you that historical history. So it says, he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. Deuteronomy 26:6. And the Egyptians evil and entreated us and afflicted us. That's dealing with the history of the Exodus, how we were slaves in Egypt for 430 years, black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. How the Egyptians afflicted us and laid upon us hard bondage. Because that's what Egypt means, the Egyptos in Greek, which means bondage. Deuteronomy 26:7. And when we cried unto the Lord Yahweh, the power of our fathers, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when we cried out to him, Yahweh heard our voice, and he looked on our affliction. and our labor and our oppression, because we were being oppressed by these Northeast Africans. Okay, Deuteronomy 26:8, and the Lord Yahweh brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with great terribleness, and with signs and wonders. And he brought us out of Egypt, man. And when he brought us out of Egypt, that was like around, that was the first month of the year, which was March. Okay, that's the time we came out of Egypt. Okay, Deuteronomy 26:9, and when he and had brought us into the place and had given us this land, even a land that flowing with milk and honey. So he brought us from Egypt and did what? He brought us into this place, which is the land of Canaan, Palestine, Israel, and had given us this land, even a land that flowing milk and honey. So the Most High gave us the Holy Land. He blessed us by giving us the Holy Land, so we should bless him back by giving the first fruits, meaning the best of our produce, the best of our vegetation and vegetables, or whatever we grew in that land. He got first dips. He got the first fruit offerings. And how he got it is when we gave the first fruit offerings, when we gave our best portion of our fruits or produce to the Levites. Deuteronomy 26:10. And now behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land, which thou, O Lord, have given me. See? So this is talking about on the behalf of Israelite brothers. Behold, he said, I have brought the first fruits of the land, which I have brought the first fruits. What is that? Vegetation, crops, vegetables, not money. Okay, I have brought the first fruits of the land, which thou, O Lord, have given me. And thou shalt set it before the Lord thy God, and worship before the Lord thy God. Okay, so we know that we brought the first fruits of the land, which the Lord Yahweh have given us, that holy land. The first dips that we received, the best portion that we received, the Most High got first dips, and we brought that to the Levites because we had to bring that to the Levites. Okay, why? We're gonna show you. Okay, we brought that to the Levites. Let's skip back up to verse 4. See, the priest shall take the basket of thy hand. The priest shall take the basket. Now, why did the priest have to carry this out? Numbers 18:22 is the history. Numbers 18:22. Neither must the children of Israel henceforth come near to the tabernacle of the congregation, lest they bear sin and die. So if you was an ordinary Israelite from what particular tribe, if you went from the Levitical tribe, if you went from the Levite tribe, the Levitical priesthood, then basically you couldn't come near the tabernacle of the congregation because at least they bear sin and you drop dead. So Numbers 18:23, but the Levites, who are the Levites? The sons of Aaron. The modern day Levites are the Haitians of Haiti, which were conquered by the Frenchmen. But anyways, it says, but the Levites shall do the service of the tabernacle. The Levites had to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. They had to do it. And they shall bear the iniquity, and it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel they have no inheritance. So the Levites had no inheritance. They had no portion of land. Therefore, you had to give them, the Levites, which was the governors, which was like the most high upon the earth, you had to give them first dips of your produce. Whatever you grew in that holy land, the Levites received the best portions. They received the tenth. They received the tithes. That's what tithing means, tenth. They received the tenth of your best, which were your first fruits. That went to the Levites, okay? Because why? They had no inheritance of land. So as an Israelite, an ordinary Israelite, you had to take care of the high priest because they had no inheritance. You see, Numbers 18:24, but the tithes of the children of Israel, the tithes, what is that? The tenth, the first fruits, okay? That's your tithes, vegetables, not money, man. Your tithing is dealing with vegetables, not money, okay? The first fruits, giving God our best, giving God your tenth, your tithe, giving God the first dips, the first fruits, okay? But the tithe of the children of Israel, which they offer as an heave offering, okay, until the Most High Yahweh, I have given to the Levites. So the tithes, the tenth, your first portion, your first fruits. Remember, we dealing with the tithing is dealing with what? vegetation, crops, oils, and spices. It's not dealing with money. It's not dealing with no damn money. Your first fruits, your offerings is dealing with tithing, okay? And that had to go where? The tenth, your tithe, or your first fruit of the children of Israel, which they offered. You offer that up to who? You offer that up to the Levites to inherit. Therefore I have said unto them among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance. So that's why you had to give a 10% of your tithing to the Levites, because they had no inheritance. 10%, or some may say first fruits. Okay, now we know first fruits dealing with today, because it is first fruits. First fruits is just, it's more than, it's twofold, threefold, fourfold, fivefold, because Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ, he's also known as the first fruits. Okay, he's also known as the first fruits because he was the first fruits to conquer death. He being the first fruits of death. Okay, to die and to conquer death, to never die again. So he conquered death, being the first fruits. Yahushua did, and we're not going to talk about that perspective, but we're just trying to give you the history of first fruits, dealing with the ancient world, how we lead up, you know, how they carried it out, man, you know. And let's see, we're gonna show you, brothers and sisters. Let's go to Deuteronomy 26 and 12. So this Deuteronomy 26 and 12, and we'll close out afterwards. It's been approximately an hour and 1 minute and some change on this video. So this is Deuteronomy 26 and 12. It says, and when thou hast made an end of tithing of all thy tithes, basically your first fruits, of thy increase, the year, which is the year of tithing. Okay, see? When thou hast made an end of tithing, all thy tithes, because you did this 3 times a year. And when thou hast made an ending of thy tithing, all the tithes of thy increase, the third year, see, which is the year of tithing, and have given it into the Levite. You gave it to the Levites, and it was not money. Your tithing was your first fruits, your vegetables, your crops. You gave a 10% of that to the Levites because they didn't have no inheritance of land. You had to take care of the Levites because they were the governors of Israel. They was like God on earth. So you had to take care of them by giving them your first fruits of 10% of your crops, your vegetation. But also you gave 10% your first fruits. You also gave that to the Levites, okay, the sons of Aaron. You gave it to the strangers, the fatherless, and the widows, okay, that they might eat within thy gates and be filled. Okay, so your 10% was not money. It was fruits, vegetables, produce. It went to the Levites, the strangers, the fatherless, and the widows. Okay, so the Levites, being the high priest, they received what? First fruits, your vegetables, your produce, your vegetation, your fruits, spices, oils. They never received no goddamn money. All right, that's how you know these Christian churches full of BS. All right, never receive money, like they lie and rob the congregation today in the Christian church. You know, so brothers and sisters, we know I got to clear something up before I close out on the behalf of Solid Foundation Israelite Academy. I have to clear this up before I close out. I don't want you to think that you are still subject to paying tithe. We don't pay tithing anymore, brothers and sisters. We don't do that. But however, we'll show you how the priesthood was changed. Okay? We'll show you that this is we're going to take a look at, we're going to show you on the behalf of Hebrews, the 7th chapter, how the priesthood was changed, because the book of Hebrews, brothers and sisters, the book of Hebrews, we're dealing with the book of Hebrews, and basically what the book of Hebrews is about, it's an epistle of Paul, the apostle, that he wrote to his fellow Hebrew Israelites in Italy, okay? And the book of Hebrews the main importance of the book of Hebrews, it was written to let the Israelites in Italy, to let them know that tithes and sacrifices were done away with. Basically, that's what the book of Hebrews was written for. The epistle from Paul, the letter from Paul. Okay. All right. He was trying to let the Hebrews in Italy see that the tithes and sacrifice was no longer effective, that they was done away with. The whole Levitical priesthood order was done away with. Dealing with the sacrificial law being done away with, dealing with tithes being done away with, and head coverings for males being done away with. This is all in the book of Hebrews to let those Israelites in Italy know that you're no longer subject to tithes and sacrificing animals and head coverings, or dealing with just the whole Levitical priesthood in general. That's done away with. That's what the importance of the book of Hebrews dealing with. And when you go in Hebrews the 7th chapter, it's going to explain how the priesthood was changed. Okay, so it says for Hebrews 7:1, for Melchizedek, king of Salem. Now Melchizedek was Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ in the reincarnation. Melchizedek, king of Salem, because Yahushua is known as the king of peace. Jesus Christ is known as the king of peace. Well, Melchizedek was him in the reincarnation. Okay, so he was the king of Salem. Salem, which means peace. Shalom, Salem. The priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed them. Because, you're going to find out that this is recorded in Genesis, the 14th chapter. On the behalf of Abraham, gave 10% of his tithes, or the spoils of war, those nations that he conquered. When Abraham went to war with those nations in Genesis 14, he took spoils of war from those nations and blessed Melchizedek by giving him 10% of the best portion of those spoils of war. Hebrews 7:2, to whom also Abraham gave 10th part of all. See, so Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek, which was Yahushua in the past life, first being interpretation, the king of righteousness, and after that also the king of Salem, which is the king of peace. So Abraham gave 10%. Abraham, in other words, Abraham gave first fruits to Melchizedek. This is talking about history in Genesis, the 14th chapter. We're going to skip down and read the 4th verse. Now considering how great this man was, and to whom even the patriarch Abraham, he gave the 10th, or the spoils of war, because he took the spoils of war from these other nations that he conquered in Genesis, the 14th chapter. And basically, he gave 10%. Now, he gave a 10th. Now, what is 10th? Tithe. He gave first dips to Melchizedek. And we're just skipping through this chapter to show you that the priesthood was changed. Hebrews 7:5. And verily they that are the sons of Levi who receive the office, the sons of Levi, the sons of Aaron, who received the office of the priesthood. Those talking about the Levitical priests who received that office to carry out the priesthood, because the priesthood was only carried out through the Levites, have a commandment to take tithes of the people. So they took the 10%, the Levites, the Levitical priesthood, the tribe of Levi, the sons of Aaron, the priests. They did what? They took the 10%. They took the tithes of the people of Israel. They carried out that service according to the law, that is, of the brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham, as you can see. Hebrews 7:6. But whose descent is not counted from them received tithes in Abraham and bless him that had the promises. Okay, so verse 7 says, and without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better. Now what that's talking about, the less was Abraham, the better was Melchizedek. So it's telling you that Melchizedek was greater than Abraham. So it said, without contradiction, the less, which is Abraham, is blessed of the better. So it's telling you that Melchizedek was greater than Abraham, because Melchizedek is Yahushua, man, which is Jesus Christ. He was better than Abraham. And it says, Hebrews 7:8, and here man that died received tithes. It says, but there he received them, of whom is witness that he lived. So basically, we're gonna explain this. Hebrews 7 and 9. It says, and as I may say, as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham. Now, how is this? Because it's telling you that Levi was in the loins of his father Abraham when Abraham gave a 10% of his tithes to Melchizedek. Okay, so Levi, which was in the loins of Abraham, he was not manifest. The tribe of Levi was not manifest yet during the days of Abraham when Abraham was living, because Levi wasn't born then. But even though Levi, he did what? He received tithes. He paid tithes in Abraham because he was in the loins of his father when Abraham met Melchizedek, which was Yahweh in the past life. Levi paid tithes through his father's loin. And we're going to show you Hebrews 7 and 10, for he was yet in the loins of his father. So that's how Levi paid tithes. Because we know the Levites, the Levitical priesthood wasn't established during the time of Abraham. But it tells you that he paid tithes in Abraham. How? Because Levi was in his loins of his father. He was in his father's testicles, his father's nutsack. Okay, he was in his father's loins when Melchizedek met him. So it's telling you that the Levitical priesthood order was set up way before the Levites. The Levitical priesthood order didn't start with the Levites, the sons of Aaron. The Levitical priesthood order started with Melchizedek, man, which is Yahweh, which is the high priest today, which is Jesus Christ. Okay, watch this. Hebrews 7 and 11. And therefore perfection, whereby the Levitical priesthood, under it, if the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek? So what it's telling you in Hebrews 7 and 11, it said, telling you, if therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, if the Levitical priesthood order made you perfect, okay, if the Levitical priesthood order made you perfect, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek? Because that's talking about Yahweh Shai, the black Messiah. Another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek and not be called after the order of Aaron. So they telling you in other words, in Hebrews 7 and 11, it's telling you that the Levitical priesthood, the Levites, the sons of Aaron, that could not make you perfect, man. There was no perfection in the Levitical priesthood. But the priesthood was changed, okay? It says, because if you thinking that the Levitical priesthood, the sons of Aaron made you perfect, then what in the hell was a further need that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek? Because perfection comes through Yahweh Shai. That's the better. That's the better. That's Melchizedek. Okay, and not called to the sons of Aaron. Hebrews 7 and 12. Watch this. Here it is. For the priesthood being changed, there is made of a necessity of a change also of the law. So the priesthood was changed. And that's talking about tithing. That's talking about tithing, the law of sacrifice, head coverings. All that was changed. So we don't no longer pay tithes anymore. Okay, we don't take first dips to the priest anymore because the priesthood been changed. The Levitical priesthood is not no longer the governors anymore because the priesthood was changed. We know that they call Yahweh Jesus Christ. Okay, we know they call him high priest now because he changed that Levitical priesthood order when he became high priest. So now we're not no longer subject to pay tithes. However, you can donate if you want to, but we're not, however, subject to pay tithes, man. Okay. Because tithing was dealing with the first dips of your produce, your crops, your vegetation. We don't no longer go to a priest and give that to a priest. Because, tithing was dealing with, you got to think about it. In order to be efficient on tithing, to be accurate on tithing, you had to meet up to the place where the Most High chose his name. That was Jerusalem. Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD. So we don't meet up there. And you had to take your tithes to a priest. It had to be the sons of Aaron where the priesthood was changed. So we don't deal with tithes anymore. We offer up spiritual gifts, man. So I don't want to make this lesson any more long, but I hope you was blessed with that. On the behalf of First Fruits, we were showing you basically on the behalf of Solid Foundation Israelite Academy how we get the appointed day, which is known as First Fruits. Now we might do several other takes to go into First Fruits and explain what it's about. But this video is just to show you the historical timeline of how we get today first fruits, which is May the 7th, today, first fruits, into sundown. So, Shalom, brothers and sisters, have a happy first fruits, also Pentecost, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua.